as database, explain analytics in HANA database, HANA development objects, explain HANA cloud solution, describe how HANA can be implemented. We say that HANA is a insert-only database. For example, you can see over here data is there in 3 columns: ID, name, role, and you can see 4th column as valid from and back. Then the next will to explain evolution of HANA and what is S4 HANA. You will be able to describe features of S4 HANA, explain the concept of simple finance and simple logistics, then architecture of S4 HANA, features of S4 HANA, and different terms used in S4 HANA. So now you will learn about architecture of HANA. This is a high-level overview of HANA architecture. Here you can see the main component of architecture is HANA database, and then on top of that you can see different front-end applications, and here you can see HANA Studio, BW Studio, different VO products and other clients. Then on left hand side you can see HANA support. That means you can get connected to any SAP support site, that is for example SAP marketplace site, for keeping your software updated. In HANA database there is an engine called software update manager which helps you to keep your software updated, and through this engine you can get connected to SAP support site and make sure that you have an updated version of the software. On the right hand side you can see data replication techniques. As you know, one of the feature of HANA is you can get connected to any other database and replicate the data from any other database in HANA. So obviously you need different replication techniques. So SAP has come up with different replication techniques. One more important part you can see over here is R client and R system. R client is nothing but you can work with R language on top of HANA. What is R language? R language is the language which is used by different scientists all over the world for doing the complex analytics on top of their data. So you can work with R language on top of HANA, and for that you need to get connected to R system. R system, that means a server for R language. So now you will see the details of each part. Here you have the details of HANA database. That is a relational database. We call it as RDBMS, and it has a SAP says that HANA database is a strong database, or you can say it has a very good backup and recovery options. It supports SQL standards, and it also ensures asset principles, which is applicable generally for any database. The next part is HANA Studio. HANA Studio is very important for ABAPers, because going forward now, whatever development you will be doing for ABAP on HANA, that you will be doing in HANA Studio. You will be using HANA Studio as a front end instead of GUI. So this is one important front end for ABAPers also. Apart from doing the developments, you can also do the system monitoring. You can set the system parameters, or you can also do the configurations through HANA Studio. So basis team can also work with HANA Studio. One more part is HANA client interface, which supports ODBC and JDBC connectivity. You can also get connected to MDX, and which also support HTTP services. The next part is HANA functional libraries, which are based on C++, and in these functional libraries you will get a set of business functional libraries. You can also get predictive analysis libraries. So these are set of libraries which can be used for doing the further analytics on top of your data. Then you have different replication techniques. One of the most important replication technique is SLT, that is SAP Landscape Transformation. This is a tool which can be used for replicating the data in real time from any SAP system to HANA, and it is a trigger based tool. Apart from that, you have different tools like SAP BODS or Sybase replication servers and all those. Then you have data preparation, which supports moving the data from Excel sheet to HANA database, and you can also copy the data from any other UI into HANA database. So this is a data preparation that you can have, basically moving the data or migrating the data from any flat file to HANA database. And you have one more important tool, that is lifecycle management tool, which is used on top of HANA for configuring HANA database, for installation of HANA database, as well as for using transport management. So this is also one of the important tools which is used generally by base system. Now here you will see the detailed architecture of HANA database. Here you will see what are the parts inside HANA database. So here you can see there are 4 servers. You can see index, preprocessor, static, and name. These are servers, and within those servers you can see some bulleted points. So those bulleted points are nothing but engines. So servers are nothing but hardware parts, and these bulleted points are engines. Engines are nothing but the software which runs on particular hardware part. So in HANA database, the most important server is an index server, because all the important engines are part of this index server. So you can see over here column store engine, row store engine, SQL, stored procedure, or planning engine, MDX engine, calculation engine. All these important engines are part of index server. So this is one of the important servers in HANA database. The next server is a preprocessor server. This server is majorly used for text analysis. So the engines required for text analysis are part of this server. The next server is a statistics server, which is used for monitoring HANA database, connecting the data related to the system, and this is generally used by base system. The next server is a name server, which will give you the topology of HANA database, that means which software component is running on which hardware part. These details will be useful, and these details you can get through name server. And the 5th part is a access engine. You can see over here, access engine is nothing but it is an extended application service. So this is nothing but actual application there. Obviously it will help you to access through HTTP, and you can see in this architecture these 4 servers are part of HANA database, and you can see this access engine, that means application server, is also built in this HANA database. So you can see the architecture over here, which is a combination of database plus application layer. So this is the architecture of latest version of HANA, wherein we call it as HANA platform, which is a combination of database plus application layer. So it is not just a database, but it is a HANA platform, which is a combination of database plus application layer. This architecture is used for S4 HANA. So this combination is called as HANA platform. Now you will see how HANA has evolved as a product and what is S4 HANA. So SAP came up with the first version of HANA as an in-memory database platform in 2011. In 2012, SAP came up with the concept of BW on top of HANA, or BW powered by HANA, wherein it was possible to have real-time analytics on top of BW on HANA. Then in 2013, SAP came up with the concept of Business Suite powered by HANA. This is nothing but ERP on top of HANA, wherein it was possible to have real-time analytics, and it was a combination of OLAP plus OLTP. So Business Suite on HANA was nothing but all ERP modules, that is all ECC modules on top of HANA, wherein the T codes were same, system tables were same. The performance was increased to some extent, but not as expected for some modules like FICO and logistics. That is why in 2014, SAP came up with the concept of simple finance and simple logistics on top of HANA to increase the performance of finance and logistics modules. You will learn about simple finance and simple logistics in next slide. And then finally in 2015, SAP came up with the concept of S4 HANA, that was a totally new product. So this is how HANA has evolved since last few years. However, you can see this journey of 4 5 years over here. However, SAP has started actually working on this concept of HANA. For HANA is completely different than ECC. It is a new user experience, so the front end is also changed with Theory 3.5. Advanced processing, you have all the advanced features. It can be also used on mobile application as a mobile application, and choice of deployments means you can have it as a on-premise or cloud or as a hybrid model also. So this is a fourth generation product, and this S4HANA, as you have learned in previous slide also, it is nothing but combination of database layer plus application layer. So it is a HANA platform. The tools are changed, table structure is changed. It is a complete change in S4HANA. So obviously, as a developer, if you are going to work on S4HANA, there will be a huge change for developers. You can see over here different versions of HANA database. Previously, it was version 1.0 SPS 0, and then the latest version is HANA 2.0 with SPS 4. The operating system is Linux as of now. And here you can see now the versions of S4HANA. The first version of S4HANA was released in 2015 and in the month of November. So the first version is 15.11. The next version was released in 2016, month was 10, so the next version is 16.10. Similarly, the next version was 17.09 and 18.09, and as of now the latest version is 19.09. So these are the different versions of S4HANA. So now the question is, what is simple finance and simple logistics? So in order to enhance the performance of finance and logistics, or maybe overall ERP on top of HANA, SAP came up with the concept of simple finance and simple logistics. Initially, they introduced this concept as simple finance and simple logistics. However, later on, this concept is renamed as S4 finance and S4 logistics. So what is there in simple finance and simple logistics is basically the table structure is completely changed in finance and logistics. So what is the change in the table structure? The first change is there are no pool or cluster tables for top of HANA. All tables are transparent tables. Why all tables are transparent? Because since HANA has the capacity to handle huge amount of data at a very high speed, you can store all the data now directly in transparent tables. You don't need any pool or cluster table. No aggregate table. In one of the previous video, you have learned what is aggregate table and why you don't need any aggregate tables from top of HANA, because HANA has the capacity to do the calculations or aggregations on the fly, even with huge amount of data, and that is why there is no need of aggregate tables, and there are no index tables because generally index tables are related to pool or cluster tables. Since pool or cluster tables are removed, obviously you don't need any corresponding index tables. So as a result of this, the table structure is very simplified. You just have mainly header and line item table, and apart from that, couple of additional tables to store the data. So the table structure is quite simplified, and so you can see in S4HANA the table structure is completely changed compared to ECC. So this concept is applied in finance module. Simplified table structure in finance module, that is nothing but simple finance, that is nothing but S4 finance now. Same logic is applied for logistics, that means for SD and MM module also. So the table structure is now simplified for SD and MM module also, which was called as simple logistics. The same concept is now called as S4 logistics. So the old table names are also completely changed. Now you can see, for example, instead of BSEC table, you can have ACDOCA, that is Abdoka table in finance table. So the table structure and table names are also completely changed. So to get the actual benefit of S4HANA as a developer, you will have to ensure that you know the tables, new tables and new fields in S4HANA. Now you can see what is the architecture of S4HANA. As discussed some time back, now HANA is not just a database, it is a platform which is a combination of database layer plus application layer. So in this HANA platform, you can see the database, underlying database on top of which you create or you use different core push down objects like core data services or AMDPs that you are going to learn in next videos. And then on top of that, the third layer you can see as an application layer, wherein you can send the output of this to different front-end applications. It may be Fiori, it may be any other application like BI, Pro, or any other application. So this is the overall architecture of S4HANA. And here you can see different features of S4HANA. The first feature is it is a simple data model. That is what we have discussed, that the data structure is completely changed, and now you have mostly header data and header table and line item table. So the table structure is completely changed and it is simplified. Another feature of S4HANA is modern user experience. So you can use Fiori as a front end for S4HANA, through which the business user experience is completely changed, and you can also use new innovative applications through S4HANA. Innovative business solutions, SAP has also come up with the concept of SAP Leonardo, which you will learn in next video, wherein you can also have IoT, a combination of IoT, machine learning, blockchain. All these new technologies are combined under this umbrella of Leonardo, which can be used on top of S4HANA. You also have a choice of deployment, whether to use S4HANA as on-premise or cloud or a hybrid model. And it's a non-disruptive journey in the sense that if any business is using ECC today and they want to move to S4HANA, SAP says that the table structure on S4HANA is quite different than ECC. So SAP has given a non-disruptive journey. That means they have given a way out how you can convert your ECC data into S4HANA new tables without losing any data. So there is a backward compatibility that SAP has already given to ensure that the business will not lose any existing data. So that is the idea of non-disruptive journey. That means without disturbing the existing business, without disturbing the existing data, you can still move from ECC to S4HANA. So there are some terms that we use with S4HANA. One is Business Suite on HANA. We call it as SOH, Suite on HANA. That is in which case this is the version which SAP introduced in 2013, wherein it is ECC on top of HANA, wherein the table structure is same as existing ECC. So that is Suite on HANA. Another concept is HANA Live, which was introduced with Suite on HANA, in which you can get built-in standard reports based on Suite on HANA. So SAP came up with the concept of built-in views. They came up with the concept of standard views which are created by SAP on top of SOH, that is Business Suite on HANA, for reporting purpose. So HANA Live is a, you can say, a separate component in which SAP has given us different standard views to create different types of reports, or which will help us for generating different types of reports. Then there is a tool called Web IDE, which is actually a front end for Fiori development, UI5 development, or any HANA development. So that is important. This is also used for SAP, that is SAP Cloud Platform. So if you want to do the development for any of these, in any of these areas, you can use Web IDE as a front end for that. You also have a Web IDE for full stack development. Then there is one more term, HANA Express, which is nothing but, which is a free version for students. They also have different versions like standard and enterprise version for corporate, and this was introduced with database for implementations of system. And one more important concept that SAP has introduced is SAP Leonardo. It is an umbrella term for all these advanced technologies, big data, IoT, machine learning, AI, analytics, blockchains, design thinking, etc. So SAP Leonardo is an umbrella term for all these advanced technologies which can be used on top of S/4HANA. And SAP has also introduced new APIs for consuming these different advanced technologies. So all these APIs are available on this SAP site, api.sap.com. So this is how you can learn S/4HANA. You can get some more information. That it is an insert-only database. That means when you do the update or delete operations in HANA, the original record is not modified. Instead of that, a valid from and valid to timestamp is added in the record, and then the latest record can be searched using the latest valid from and valid to timestamp. So this is how HANA operates, and this helps to find out the latest record quickly instead of actually deleting and changing the existing record. So this is how HANA works as insert-only database. Compression techniques you have learned in previous video also. I hope you have gone through that video. For example, here you can see there is a sample taken from one bank. Case study was done wherein 1 month bank data was picked up, and when you store that data in any non-HANA database, it comes to 500 GB. If you store the same data in HANA database, it comes to just 100 GB. So you can see this in this graph, the difference between non-HANA database and HANA database. There is a huge memory space which is saved in case of HANA database because of compression techniques which are used. I hope you remember, you have already learned in previous videos that when you create tables as columnar table, then the system uses compression techniques at the backend and data gets compressed at the backend. That is why you can see the memory footprint is reduced or very less compared to non-HANA databases. So this is one of the important feature of HANA as database. Here you can see the difference between any non-HANA database and HANA database. If you are using any non-HANA database and if you are using multiple different applications, then you have different systems. You need different systems for different purposes. Say for example, if you have ERP, then you will have a separate database. If you have CIM, then you need to have a separate database. If you have a BW system, you need separate database, or any other custom application if you are using, you need a separate database. However, if you are using HANA, then you can plug in different applications on one single HANA database. So this is one difference. I hope you remember this. You have already learned in previous video also about this, that this is the major difference between any other database and HANA database. And as a result, the business can save the cost by implementing only one single HANA database and using different applications on one single database. There is one more difference between HANA database and other databases is if you are using any other database, then you definitely need application server in between, which is a second layer in between. And in case of HANA platform, you can see it is inbuilt, application layer is inbuilt within HANA platform. So if you remember, you have also learned this, that with new architecture of S/4HANA, HANA is not just a database, it is a platform which is a combination of database layer plus application layer, wherein you can see application function libraries and business function libraries which are built in within HANA platform. So these are the important differences between any other database and HANA database. So here you will learn different data provisioning techniques used in HANA. If you remember in one of the previous videos, you have learned one of the important feature of HANA, that you can get connected to any other database and replicate the data from any other database in HANA database. Obviously for that you need different data provisioning or replication techniques. These techniques can be used to replicate the data from any SAP or non-SAP system in HANA. These techniques can also be used for creating and preparing the data. So these tools or techniques are divided into two categories: HANA built-in tools and external tools. So in this diagram you can see how it works. On left hand side you can see data from external source. It can be from any source, SAP or non-SAP. It can be any database or it can be file format also. Then you use different provisioning tools. It may be HANA built-in tool or any external tool. The data gets replicated into HANA database. On top of that you do the required analysis and then you display the output in front-end application. So here are some inbuilt tools. One is flat file, smart data streaming, smart data access, a set of tools which is called as enterprise information management, and remote data sync. For external tools you have SLT, that is SAP landscape transformation, BODS, direct extractor, and Sybase replication server. Now you will see the details of each tool. So one of the internal tool is flat file. So you can upload the data from flat file. That means you can upload the data from Excel or CSV format. As of now there is a restriction of 1 million records for a flat file at a time. If you have created headers for your data in Excel sheet, then those headers will be treated as column names in HANA. And by default the system will create column store table in HANA database. The data types which you are using in Excel sheet, the same data types will be picked up in HANA database. However, you can change it later. The next tool is smart data streaming, which is majorly used for IoT based services, and it is also renamed as streaming analytics. It is used for filtering unwanted data, and it can store the required information as and when required. The next tool is smart data access. This can be used with different databases like Oracle, SQL Server, or Hadoop. And there are two steps in this tool. One is you have to first create a remote source, and then you have to create a virtual table for replicating the data. The next set of tools is called as EIM, that is Enterprise Information Management, which is a combination of two tools: Smart Data Integration and Smart Data Query. So Smart Data Integration, that is SDI, is a ETL tool which is freely available in HANA. It has limited transformations compared to BODS, and it can be used for various business function libraries or predictive application libraries. The next tool is a SDQ, which is used for data cleansing majorly, and it can be used for removing the duplicate records and also to check the semantics. Next is remote data sync, which is used to move the data from cloud to cloud or cloud to on-premise in case of HANA, which is majorly used for IoT or mobility and satellite server. For external tools, one of the important tool is SLT, that is SAP Landscape Transformation. This is a real-time transformation tool, which is a trigger-based tool. The disadvantages are it requires a separate physical server, and it helps to replicate the data from SAP to SAP, and the transformations are not supported in SAP. The next tool is BODS, which is used for replicating the data from any source in HANA. It may be a file, it may be a database. It can also support complex transformations. However, the license cost is very high for BODS. Next one is DXC, which is also one of the extracted tool, but it is not used frequently. And one more here is Sybase replication server. If you remember, a few years back SAP has taken over Sybase company, and that company have their own replication server, which is now taken over by SAP. So that is a Sybase replication server. It's like an internal data transfer between Sybase to HANA, and it is a time efficient tool. It is also cost effective for backup devices. Now you will see different analytic tools in HANA database. One is BW on HANA, which is a composite, which includes composite providers, transient providers, or open ODS views, advanced DSOs, etc. In HANA, you can have different modeling views you can use, or you can create attribute view, analytic view, or calculation view. However, as you know, since SPS 11 onwards, attribute and analytic views are outdated. Now you can only go for calculation view. You can also do the analytics in HANA with before HANA. You can have data on the cloud. You can create ODBs and CDS views. You can also have embedded analytics with HANA, on especially on S4 HANA with BW and BO. You can also do SAP Analytics Cloud, that is, you can do analytics on top of cloud using SAP Cloud Platform. So these are the different ways in which you can do analytics with HANA database. And then there are different HANA development objects. We call it as HANA native development objects. Under this, you can create tables in HANA database. So you can directly get connected to HANA database, and there you can create your own custom tables, either as a row store or as a column store table. So there are three ways how you can create your table. One is a file import. That means you can import your data from Excel sheet into your table. That is one way, and while importing that data, you can create a table. You can also create a table using a wizard through UI. You can also write a SQL statement for that through SQL console. As a part of HANA development object, you can also create stored procedures or functions, triggers, sequences, synonyms, views, etc. You will learn details about these objects in HANA development objects. So here you can see different cloud applications that SAP has introduced. For infrastructure as a service, SAP has come up with HANA Enterprise Cloud. For platform as a service, SAP has introduced SAP Cloud Platform. The old name was HCP, that was HANA Cloud Platform. Now it is called as SCP. And you can use ABAP as a programming language on top of SAP Cloud Platform, which is called as ABAP Pass. For software as a service, SAP has introduced different applications like Concur, Fieldglass, SuccessFactors, Hybrids, C4C, etc. And for integration, SAP has again introduced different integration platforms. PIPO you already know, which is used for on-premise, and for cloud connecting, SAP has introduced CPI, that is Cloud Platform Integration. The old name of this product is HCI, that is HANA Cloud Integration, which is now CPI, Cloud Platform Integration. There are a couple of different ways in which you can implement HANA. One of the way is a sidecar approach, wherein if you are using currently any non-HANA database and if you have application server, then you purchase HANA database and you keep on replicating the data from non-HANA database to HANA database. That means you use HANA database as a secondary database, and whatever operations you are doing in non-HANA database or existing database, you keep on replicating it in HANA database using SLT, that is SAP Landscape Transformation. So you keep on replicating real-time data in HANA database, and you are using HANA database as a secondary database initially. Then you ask your basis team to start working on HANA database. Once they are comfortable with HANA database, then you ask other SAP consultants to start working on HANA database. Once your complete team of consultants is comfortable with HANA database, then you actually migrate from any other database to HANA database. So this approach is useful because SAP says that the way HANA database works is completely different than the way any other database works. So it is very important that your SAP team and your business should get comfortable with HANA way, and that is why SAP says that sidecar approach is very useful. That means in this case you are using HANA database as a sidecar. Once your team gets comfortable with HANA way, then you can completely migrate from any other database to any database. The second approach is a greenfield approach, in which if you are using currently any other non-database and you want to move to HANA database, then you directly move it from existing database to HANA database. You do not use HANA database as a secondary database or sidecar. You directly move from any other database to HANA database. This is an implementation project in which you will directly start using HANA database. So these are the two different approaches for implementing HANA database. So all the best. Please go ahead and utilize this knowledge in your projects.